Well, it is never a bad day in the Drive office when you've got a backdrop like the one that I'm standing in front of and you're driving a vehicle like this one here. This is the updated Jeep Wrangler. Of course, you're looking at Rubicon here, but there is Sport S, an Overland with 4-door configuration, and then of course Rubicon in 3 and 4-door. Now the headline of this story, in addition to the tech updates and a few of the design changes, is the pricing changes. So this vehicle in Rubicon specification right through the range is actually more affordable than the model that it replaces. However, and I want you to let us know at the end of the video what you think, it is still quite expensive in relative terms. You're talking at about $85,000 and a bit before on-road costs for a Wrangler Rubicon. So it's not cheap in inverted commas, but we do know that this vehicle here has always been the most capable four-wheel drive you can buy off the showroom floor, and we're about to find out whether that's still the case. At launch, we're driving Rubicon only, priced from $83,950 before on-road costs for the 3-door and $90,450 before on-road costs for the 5-door. Both those price points are unchanged from the previous model, but it's the Sport S 4-door and Overland 4-door, $75,950 and $84,950 before on-road costs respectively, that have seen the price adjustment. Our pricing and specification guide digs into the details. The new turbocharged 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol engine is the focal point, and it now requires 95-octane premium fuel as well. Outputs are 200 kilowatts and 400 newton metres, and those figures are 9 kilowatts less but 53 newton metres more than the old V6 engine that it replaces. Fans would remind me that the V6 and the inline-6 before it were robust old soldiers willing to keep working for years so long as you service them with respect. And while that might be true, it would be a stretch to call them smooth, refined, efficient, high-tech, or a combination of all of those. There's an excellent 8-speed automatic, and Jeep claims 9.9 litres per 100 kilometres. We're about to do some off-roading and then some testing on-road, so you'll get a look at the capability of the new Jeep Wrangler. We are driving Rubicon only at launch, so keep that in mind. We're not driving Sport S or Overland, only Rubicon at launch, and you will see in some of the video 3 and 4-door configuration, or more specifically 3 and 5-door or 2 and 4-door, depending on which you prefer. The headline here in the cabin, there's a lot of, I guess, subtle improvements that really drag the Wrangler forward to where you would expect it to be. Redesigned touch surfaces, so a lot more touch surfaces that are actually quite nice across the dashboard and the door tops. The vents have been redesigned. These ones here under the infotainment system are really nicely integrated. They don't look like an afterthought like they did with the older version. And a new infotainment screen, so you get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and a really good connection there, as well as an interactive driver's display that works quite well also. And then of course, with Wrangler Rubicon, given its ability off-road, it has the hardware to facilitate what it can do off-road. So we're driving an automatic obviously, but it's got proper low-range gearing, it's got front and rear diff locks, it's got sway bar disconnect, and it's got downhill assist control that actually works. We've tested it once just on the way to shoot this video at this location, and the way it works on a slippery downhill slope is fantastic. So you could argue in one hand that Jeep needed to do all of these minor changes inside the cabin to bring it forward into 2024, but I think they've taken what is a legendary off-roader, something that is quite an icon, and brought it right up to date, I guess, in terms of what you'd expect inside the cabin. Now though, it's time for a bit of off-road driving. Heading out on a sealed road drive, the Wrangler Rubicon is once again an improvement on the model it replaces. While off-road ability is undeniably the focus, the Rubicon is better behaved on-road than it's ever been. You'll still know you're driving a body-on-frame four-wheel drive, of course, but there's less wobble from the body, better all-round control over potholed and rutted surfaces, and a more comfortable experience all round. Traditional fans might lament the lack of the mechanical simplicity of the old V6, but the new engine is a vastly superior unit. Off-road, the potency of the Rubicon's drivetrain comes into stark view. Dana diffs, a full floating 44 unit at the rear, front sway bar disconnect, electronic locking front and rear diffs, serious low range gearing, that's a 4:1 transfer case and 77.2:1 crawl ratio, proper wheel articulation, performance-focused suspension and capable tyres ensure the Rubicon is almost unstoppable in harsh terrain. Overnight rain had turned much of the off-road test facility into a slippery mud bath by the time we arrived, and yet the Rubicon crawled its way through effortlessly. Much of the Rubicon's off-road prowess is both expected and tested previously, but the standout for me at launch was the hill descent control. Still, after years of development now, many manufacturers get this system wrong, but Jeep's is as good as I've tested in any four-wheel drive. Even on a steep slope, so slippery you could barely walk down it, the Rubicon with 20 psi in the tyres inches its way down without the merest hint of slip. There's no nasty noises coming from the brakes either, just sure-footed, reassuring progress. So there you go, that's the new Jeep Wrangler in Rubicon specification specifically. And before any of you go into the comment section, no, I'm not driving down this hill this way. We just parked it like this so you could get a look at some of the articulation. I'm going to reverse out and go back down the safe line, but we just wanted to show you a little bit of the wheel travel. Let's run through a couple of things with this new Wrangler. Firstly, infotainment and tech is never a bad thing if it's well executed, and the updates inside the cabin I think are easy to use, they're easy to understand, and I think they make a difference to the driving experience, so they're impressive. On road, I was surprised by how comfortable and capable the Wrangler Rubicon is, because this is first and foremost, after all, a very, very, I guess, finely directed off-road tool. So for it to be comfortable on road, for the Jeep engineers to have tackled and controlled some of that body roll that you used to get with a four-wheel drive of this type on road, I think is worthy of note, and it's actually pretty comfortable. I think if you're doing longer distance driving off-road, you probably want to go four-door rather than two-door, because it gives you a bit more room and a bit more flexibility. And then of course, off-road. I said it at the start of the video, and I'll make the point again now, there isn't anything that you can buy that is this capable off-road, off the factory floor. And one thing that is worthy of note, because we talk a lot about the drive line and sway bar disconnect and the low range gearing, all those things. Downhill assist control in this vehicle is as good as any four-wheel drive I've ever tested. It is particularly impressive, works really well. One thing we'd love your feedback on though is the price. This is not a cheap four-wheel drive, as we said at the start of this video. A top-of-the-range Rubicon with everything on it is going to be up near $90,000 drive away. It's a lot of money. It means that properly capable off-roading like that becomes very expensive for anybody off the showroom floor. So let us know in the comments section below whether you think the price will be a barrier, or is something like the Rubicon just a vehicle that people will buy regardless. And lastly, I think the word icon gets thrown around a little bit too loosely, but the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon is and always will be an icon off-road. This is a particularly iconic vehicle in every sense of the word. I think the updates that Jeep has done to this model make it a really impressive performer as well. As always, don't forget to let us know what you think in the comments section below. Hit like if you've enjoyed the video. Click on subscribe so you can stay up to date with all of our latest content. Full review of the new Jeep Wrangler Rubicon. It's over at drive.com.au.